Vaughn into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed. Ball 4. Ball 8. Low, and Vaughn has walked the bases loaded on 12 straight pitches.
So there's Bob Uecker, of course, in the movie Major League. That's Major League 1, right? I don't know.
Yes.
I've seen 2, but I don't think I know the difference.
A lot of people argue that 2, at minimum, is just as good as 1, if not better. I mean, it is really funny.
Is 2 the last one?
They had other ones after that, but it started to get into different actors. 1 and 2 are definitely kind of like the Sandlot, where it's just
in the Home Alone movies.
Yes, exactly.
We were talking. Ethan and I were talking about Bob Uecker before the show started, and are you familiar with Major League movies?
No. I can't believe that I've never seen one because they came out, I think, in the late 80s.
Sure.
When I was just old enough to get some of the jokes, but my parents were like, you probably shouldn't see these. And then I've never gone back and watched them.
Well, you did watch them. It was when St. Louis Rams were getting ready to leave St. Louis. It's the same plot.
Okay.
It's the same thing. But I said to Ethan that, Charlie Sheen is in that movie, but Bob Uecker pretty much steals the show in the movies Major League. Like, if you're quoting things from Major League, you're probably quoting Bob Uecker.
I can't tell you how many times this summer, just jokingly, broadcasting summer collegiate baseball, there'd be a pitch that would miss it just a bit outside. I mean, that is...
If you're at a youth baseball game and that ball goes way outside, somebody is saying that line.
I mean, professional broadcasters will use that. I mean, that has become such a pinnacle... That line has become such a pinnacle part of baseball broadcast. I mean, and speaking of pinnacle, I mean... Bob Uecker was the pinnacle of baseball broadcasting. 90 years is a long life, but this is a huge loss for both the baseball community and the broadcasting community. I mean, you don't earn the nickname Mr. Baseball unless you are that much of an impactful part of the game, and a cool connection to St. Louis because at one time he did wear the Cardinal uniform.
Yeah, as a player.
As a player, yes, specifically.
Fox News reports that Bob Uecker, a legendary baseball broadcaster for the Milwaukee Brewers and former player, has died. He was 90 years old. Uecker called games for the Brewers since 1971 and appeared in the 1989 movie Major League and the film's 2 sequels. A statement from the organization said, Ueck was the light of the Brewers, the soundtrack of our summers, the laughter in our hearts, and his passing is a profound loss. He was the heart and soul of Wisconsin and a dear friend. Bob loved people, his presence warmed every room, and he had a way of welcoming us all into his world as if we were lifelong friends. You know, when it comes to broadcasting, it's weird because Bob Uecker was doing a form of what we do here. It's broadcasting. It's being able to convey and tell a story about something that is current and relevant, and doing it over and over and over again. And it's interesting to think about, my childhood or your childhood, especially when it comes to baseball. There's a familiarity and a personal relationship you end up building with these people who come into your home across your radio over the course of years, because you have a common interest in something, baseball, or a particular team with baseball, that you do feel like, you lose a friend. When Mike Shannon passed, when Jack Buck passed, people felt the same way. The relationship you build with these individuals, it's just from listening to their voice over the airwaves, it's a pretty profound thing.
And you can make an argument, the Milwaukee Brewers organization has been around for a long time. And they've had some very successful players wear that Brewers uniform. Robin Yount, Prince Fielder. I mean, Ryan Braun. They've had some very big names come through and
Mike
play
Matheny.
for them. Mike Matheny, Jim Edmonds. Everyone remembers him playing for the Brewers. But it says something when arguably the most known member of your organization is a broadcaster.
Yeah.
And without a doubt, Bob Uecker is the most memorable member of the Milwaukee Brewers organization. And I will say this, and the last couple of years, for those that don't know, I worked in the St. Louis Cardinals broadcasting booth, and it was such a cool thing to be able to be a part of such a legendary booth that's had so many big names come through. And being that the Brewers and the Cardinals are division foes, up until a couple of years ago, I mean, they were in town several times a year. And, Mike Shannon, John Rooney, these guys became very good friends with the likes of Bob Uecker and these guys that come in town and you see several times a year. It was really cool. And unfortunately, I was never able to meet Mr. Uecker in his final years of broadcasting. He was only doing the home games. He wasn't traveling.
Yeah.
But hearing some of the stories about just the relationships and the moments that these guys had throughout the years, my position in the broadcast booth was the booth assistant. And while it would have been really cool to work with Mike Shannon day in and day out, I am thankful that I was not having to go to the horse tracks and put in bets for him.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that I didn't have to go to the local instrument store and buy a tuba when Bob Uecker was in town so that he could play it. He had one of his booth
we need a
assistants do
tuba.
that.
Where's Ethan?
That actually happened. And Bob Uecker was known as the broadcaster, the player that was big time with the tuba. In fact, there was even a time where he used a tuba to shag fly balls before a World Series game. I mean,
amazing.
You talk about all the things that go along with Bob Uecker and the tuba, for baseball fans. They are
know.
very memorable.
Yeah.
There's very memorable moments of him playing that from the booth, or in this case, wearing a Cardinal uniform, shagging fly balls before World Series games with it.
Well, he passed away at the age of 90, which is a life well lived. Uecker's family said in a statement that the broadcaster had battled a private battle with small cell lung cancer since 2023. A statement from his family. He brought joy to countless listeners through his wit, charisma, and love for baseball, Milwaukee, and all of Wisconsin, creating a legacy that will forever be cherished. While his contributions to the game are noteworthy, it is his kindness, humility, and love for family and friends that we will hold closest to our hearts. When you think about that, and you see lots of people who have a very public status, if you can be talked about as being a kind and generous person instead of just a bit outside or whatever, some of those very publicly known things about an individual, if that's what you're being talked about, your humility. After 90 years of life, I think that is a pretty impressive model set for the rest of us to be able to look after. So Bob Uecker passed away at the age of 90. We'll be right back.